30? Yep. We all rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all and welcome to the November meeting of the Philipstown Town Board. Approval of minutes, regular meeting, October 3rd, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Workshop meeting, October 16th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Workshop meeting of October 23rd, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. We had a busy October. Thank you all for the work on our budget. Committee reports, Conservation Board.
The Conservation Board met on October 8th. There was some correspondence from the Planning Board regarding a Audemars, proposed Audemars at 3070 Route Cold Spring. They're planning to put in I think a Dunkin' Donuts is proposed, a gas station, and also the project in phase 2 includes a potential solar farm. The Conservation Board needs to do a site visit. There are some concerns about fuel being held because of its proximity to the aquifer and floodplain, and so Max will follow up and they'll have a Conservation Board meeting. Some old business, 90 Steuben Road. Applicants are seeking a permit to replace and enlarge an existing deck, small project. Conservation Board asked to see if they can investigate drainage and use of core logs to make sure nothing gets into the lake during construction. Max is going to work with the owner to finalize and issue the permit. New business, 275 Indian Brook Road in Garrison. Applicant is seeking a permit to stabilize eroded property at the stream. They just Conservation Board want to make sure that they were doing proper things to make sure nothing went into the stream during the work. Max is going to make a permit with the owner. In other discussion, 5 Juniper Hill Road, which was tabled. And then in the stormwater report, Max reported that the stormwater management plan is open for public comment. That is it. The next meeting of the Conservation Board is next Tuesday, November 12th at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
And of course, I would never comment on the validity of a project, but Audemars, the site, I appreciate the amount of effort that's been put into just straightening up. I mean, there was a multitude of vehicles in the back and in the front, and now it's just cleaned up. So I appreciate whoever the owner is that they've actually cleaned up the property quite a bit.
Manny, I think.
Yeah.
Manny something.
Well, thank you, Manny something. Recreation.
Good evening. The Philipstown Recreation held its October meeting this past week, and elections were held. The chair, vice chair, and treasurer were elected. Eric Cupper was voted as chairperson. Claudio Marzola was voted as vice chair, and Lauren Grattina becomes the treasurer. Lindsay Kipple of the Philipstown Recreation staff will continue to serve as secretary. We currently have 2 open positions on the Recreation Commission. For the board as Joel Coneybear, who served for many years, and Ben Che, our 2 esteemed board members, are leaving the board. If interested, potential candidates can submit resumes to Tara Percacciolo, our town clerk, at Town Hall. As far as programming, registration for all winter programming, including youth sports, youth classes, adult and senior fitness classes, and senior art classes, will take place for residents on Monday, November 18th at 8:30 a.m. Please register online at philipstownregistration.com. One specific event in November is the senior luncheon this year, which will be held on Wednesday, November 20th at 12 p.m. at the Rec Center. All seniors are welcome, just RSVP. The American Red Cross visited the Rec Center this week to explore the possibility of once again utilizing a Rec Center as a Red Cross shelter. The new contacts with the Red Cross are submitting all paperwork, so we should have an official Red Cross shelter for emergencies and natural disasters by the new year. And I also just want to add that the Castle to River Run that It's a fundraiser for the Philipstown Rec Department. Friends of Philipstown Rec organized it. It was a great success. There were over 200 runners, and it was a beautiful day. So thank you to all the volunteers.
Thanks for covering my spot in the parking.
Sure, and I did get some parking experience. Claudio Marzola trained me and, you know, in trying to follow in John's Van Tassel's footsteps
Right.
as a parking attendant.
All right, thank you to the Rec Commission. If you're unaware of what the Rec Commission does, they oversee the operation of the Town Recreation Department. So if you're you have young children, young parents, and you're interested in participating, it's a great position to hold, so works well. It's a lot, they do a lot, so thank you, Judy. Thank you to the Rec Department. Philipstown Hub.
The Philipstown Hub has had several events at its home on 5 Stone Street in October, including Wednesday, October 16th. The support group for parents of emerging adults convened. On Monday, October 21st, there was a support group for women with ADHD, and a Halloween craft making and candy event for children on Monday, October 28th. The Hub held a private grief support group for Haldane students that have experienced loss in recent months. The Hub worked directly with the school administration at Haldane to initiate outreach to the students. The group met on October 24th and will hold another session in upcoming months. At the request of the community foundations of the Hudson Valley, the Hub sent specified marketing materials which the foundation plans to use to highlight the organization for donor-advised funds. The Hub will be present at the Modern Makers Market the weekend of November 10th. That's this upcoming weekend. They have a table with a lot of information. And the next meeting of the Board of Directors will take place on Wednesday, November 13th. There are also several upcoming events in November in addition to the Modern Makers Market. There is going to be on Friday, November 15th from 4 to 6 at a new location for the Hub, which we're all very excited about, on Route 9, 3590 Route 9 on November 15th from 4 to 6. It's going to be an open house, so you get to tour the new expanded space, which we have obtained for the Hub through a community benefit agreement. So that's really very exciting. Friday, November 15th from 4 to 6
So it's
p.m.
a week from this Friday.
And there will be eventually additional services provided there for people who are referred by the Hub. So it's very exciting. And they are keeping the Stone Street location as well, because there are a lot of people that access care through that location. There's going to be a Narcon training this coming Tuesday at November 12th. And there's also going to be coffee with caregivers on Thursday, November 21st from 5 to 6 p.m. and a grief support group for adults. One case that they wanted me to share, well, they provided several examples of the cases they handle, but one is a family that was looking for family and individual therapy, reached out to the Hub for assistance. They had a virtual consultation with the family who couldn't find providers who accepted their insurance, and the Hub care coordinators were able to connect the families with therapy for the individuals and also for the entire family. And in October, the Hub care coordinators made 376 contacts. For the current year, it's 1,458 contacts in the community, and of those contacts in October, 101 were phone calls, 237 were via email, 20 via text, and 15 through events, and 3 were in person, people walking into the Hub's location. So we want to thank the Hub and Semra Urson, the new executive director, for all their work for the community. And please don't hesitate to contact the Hub if you need services.
Thank you. Thank you to the Hub. Thank you, Judy. Planning Board.
Planning Board, I attended the Planning Board on October 17th, had a full agenda. First thing, I had a couple correspondence. Kozinski, Crest Road in Cold Spring is requesting a 6-month extension on the project. A return of escrow to Stepping Stone Child Care and Development on 25 Blue Devil Lane was approved. And a letter for Karniski Plaza LLC indicating they required more time for the traffic study. This is the piece of property on Route 9 right next to Danes. That's built that new building up there. It was a public hearing. On Hudson Highland Reserve, as everyone's probably aware, Hudson Highlands Reserve has been in front of the planning board for many, many years, probably 10, if not a few more. They would have a public hearing just for their spine road for steep slopes. Those sections of their spine road, which is the main road that goes off of Route 9 all the way through the development, there's a couple areas where it have steep slopes in it. So that's the reason I had the public hearing. There was a few people who did have some concerns, but most of their concerns really weren't involved with the steep slopes. They're more concerned about the way the process works. The issue is the department, the DOT will not issue an approval until the subdivision is approved. So it's like a catch-22 there type of thing. So that's got to be all worked out between the parties. So that's it. But anyway, 5 people did discuss, did have some concerns, but nothing really too major. Public hearing was closed. Old business, Vasta, Rhine, Cliffside Court in Garrison. They've been from the planning board the last maybe 9 months or so. They had the ZBA last month approved the steep slopes, because there's very steep slopes back there, it's like 20–30%. They also got an approval, Board of Health approval for the second from the Board of Health of Putnam County. The lot coverage is 19%, and you only should have 10%. So they're going back to the ZBA next month, possibly for that, try to get an approval of that as well. Anyway, they have a couple violations on the property as well. Our building inspector made an offer to them to keep the material there or put up a $15,000 bond. Anyway, the board denied them of putting up the $15,000 bond, so the materials needs to be removed. Next on the agenda was KB Properties, 201 West Point Road in Garrison. This is considered a major project. The applicant seeks the plan approval of construction of a 5,000 square foot building to house an office, equipment, and material landscaping company operations, along with access to the drive, parking, and outside storage. The site contains a single-family home that will remain. A new driveway entrance for the landscape company is proposal for Route 9 frontage. The driveway and the single-family home will remain on Old West Point Road. The project was, they're going to do a site visit on November 17th. They also approved, they sent the request to the county planning, DOT, Board of Health, Garrison Fire Department, and Conservation Board. Site visit, as I said, will be November 17th at 9:30. Under new business, Garrison Golf Club, Shakespeare, they're in the second phase. This is considered second phase. This is for the artist building, the 2 artist buildings they plan on putting up. This is considered a major project. The construction of 6 buildings in general conference space will be available. A master plan of 4 smaller buildings, which will each contain 4 individual lodging units, and the 5th individual unit will contain 16 lodging units. The common amenities for the outdoor common deck expected action. Applicant made the presentation to the board. Board classified as a major project, declared as an unlisted action with seeker. This is also on this piece of property is on that property it's on the first fairway. If everyone's familiar with the up there is the first fairway. They're going to use an existing well for this, and there's an existing septic system there as well. They're doing a site visit on November 17th at 10:30. The next meeting is November 21st. These site visits are open to the public. If anyone wants to come, you're more than welcome to join.
And what time is the site visit?
The first one's at 9:30, which is, I just said, down at the Garrison Golf is 10:30.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you to the planning board. Zoning.
Oh, that's me, sorry. That's me, and I even wrote it out today. So, thank you all for being here. So the zoning board met on Monday, November 4th. There was a public hearing for two individuals, which is the Hooks on 50 Healy Road. They were looking for an applicant to be seeking a variance to add to their kitchen. The zoning board approved that. The second public hearing was for Automar, which seems to be a hot topic. It's at 3070 Route 9 in Cold Spring. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow a drive-through window for the potential Dunkin' Donuts that is to be put on Route 9. After several constituents spoke and addressed their concerns about the drive-through aspect of the Dunkin' Donuts, the board reviewed all 5 components of the zoning code, and the zoning board denied the drive-through window aspect of the potential Dunkin' Donuts coming to Philipstown. I'd like to add that I am in agreement with the zoning board, and I want to thank them for taking the time to really review all the 5 components when it comes to the zoning code. As a resident of Cold Spring for over 40 years, that stretch of Route 9, as many of you know, is very dangerous. It's high traffic has improved. I mean, I don't want to say improved, has been heavier over the years, right? Like, hasn't improved, but it's increased. And with the bus routes, the number of individuals that travel Route 9, I want to reiterate and thank the zoning board for really taking the time to review the importance of denying that drive-through. And that is all I have for the zoning board. There is no new business, no old business, and their next meeting is in December, and I don't have the exact,
I think it's January.
January?
Yeah, they're not
What?
meeting in December.
Look at that. Thanks, Bob.
Only we meet in December.
Only we meet.
I think I got a date for that, but.
Well, yeah, so their next meeting will be in 2025.
Yep.
All righty, thank you, Meg. Thank
Yeah,
you to
no
the zoning
problem.
board. Highway.
Submitted by Adam Hoteling, Superintendent of Highways, work performed for Philipstown Highway Department in the month of October. October, the crews will continue working on drainage issues, grading, and leaf blowing. Due to the dry conditions, the water truck was out on a regular basis. South Highland Turnpike was closed for 1 day for emergency pipe work. The new electric mower, the first piece of electrical landscape equipment purchased through the Climate Smart NYSERDA grant, thanks to Martha, thank you. Arrived at the shop. It was tested out by mowing the yard and will come in handy at several other larger intersections. Other e-equipment includes backpack blowers, a trimmer. Vendors were given heads up of the 2025 materials bid packets are available to be picked up at the town hall starting November 1st. The bid openings will be November 15th at 2 p.m. After a negative declaration for secret resolution was passed to pave a small portion of Indian Brook Road from the underpass of Route 9D to pole number 132531. Due to the lateness in the season, it is questionable whether this work will happen or not this year, but I'd like to see it happen this year if possible. I'm sure Adam's going to do everything he can to try to get it in. Anyway, because that section there, as we all know, is always in bad shape, and paving will help everyone in the long run for that one little area. It's not very much. We are asking all residents to please have consideration for the crews working on the roads. They're doing their job, and bullying will not be tolerated. So I don't know where that came from, but maybe someone stopped and said something to one of the guys. I don't know.
And it's ridiculous that they're coming out and verbally attacking our highway crew because they're maintaining and there is the potential of pavement. So I've told Adam and I told the crew, if they're getting harassed, to dial 911 and have the person removed. So it's not funny, it's not fair. These guys are doing their job. It's not their decision whether to pave or not to pave. It is ours. So, and we stand behind it. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, very good. I just wasn't 100% sure where that came from, but I kind of understand, as you mentioned, where it is now. We had around 25 phone calls regarding road issues and complaints, of roughly $8,000 was spent on vehicle maintenance for the month of October. Thank you, Adam.
When the new mower came in, I tried to get him to test it on my yard. He wouldn't do it. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, the Highway Department. Building and Land, I have nothing. Cemetery Committee?
Cemetery, we have stuff. We received the approval to remove the tree that is closest to Mountain Avenue. Over here, that cemetery that's on Mountain Avenue with the school, there's a tree that is obstructing 12 headstones. And I had Phillips Garrison Tree come out. They checked it out. They're able to remove it. He looks to remove it relatively soon. So there's that. And then I'm going to be visiting McKeel Cemetery because it comes to my attention that there is, there's the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence in 2026. And there is 6 Revolutionary War veterans that are buried in McKeel's cemetery. So the gentleman, Mark Furlow, reached out to me, and he had a few questions, so I'm going to hopefully reach out, meet with him. They just had a few questions about land, and does the town own it? Did they own it? So I got some cemetery work to do.
Great. That's good.
He's a town historian.
Yes. Yes, he is. Well, he gave me details, and this is great. So I'll be reaching out to him to meet him.
All righty, thank you. Thank you, Cemetery Committee. Thank you, Megan. Agenda.
So first on the agenda is Stacy Farley to give an update about the sweet potato dig that occurred in early October.
Our favorite farm. Welcome, Stacy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Well, I'm here to share some good news and also to say thank you. About 6 months ago, you read a letter here at the board meeting. It was from myself and my husband, Peter Davern, about the work that we do at Davern Farm, growing food for food pantries. And I asked if there might be some spare land that was owned by the town, which you might lend to our team for the sole purpose of growing more food to reduce food insecurity. When we were granted the use of the field at 403 and 90, I promised I would report back about the project when it was complete. And the best way to tell you about this project is to show you a very short documentary, which was made on Harvest Day, October 5th, the day we dug up the sweet potatoes with 150 volunteers. And I think Tara has helped me get it ready to show. So, ready to go. So because you said yes and were helpful at every turn, right now over 20,000 people are enjoying the harvest from the town-owned land. The field has now been replanted with ryegrass, which will nourish the soil in the spring. And if you were to go there right now, it looks as if we'd never been there. So I'm here to say a heartfelt thank you to all of you for saying yes, and also to all the members of the community that came and helped out, including Councilman Rob Flaherty, who not only dug the potatoes, but drove them to many, many food pantries. So thanks to all of you.
I couldn't think of a better use of that land than to feed people who need to be fed. And I can't thank you and Peter enough for the work that you did there. I mean, all we did was give you the property. You guys took it over. I would love to expand it next year. We have other pieces of land that we would be glad, I'm sure I'm speaking for me, but I'm sure we could manage to get additional property to you. And this is what America's about right there. This is perfect timing for the events of this week to show what we can do when we want to work together. And I can't thank you enough for what you've done and for the town, for the needy, for the people of the area that are not fed enough food. So thank you, Stacy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a resolution approving the solicitation of bids for purchase of an EV pickup truck, and this is a roll call vote.
Okay, so would you like to comment on this, Martha? Come on up, Martha.
So this is part of our $100,000 NYSERDA grant. We have a specified amount of money to spend on a Ford Lightning pickup truck for the rec center. We don't want to go over $65,000. We're going to try it with that as a cap. If we have to, we'll expand it. But I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get it.
Great. Might not have tires, but. Well, thank you so much. We can go through this. Where the town of Philipstown has received the Clean Energy Communities Program grant from NYSERDA in the amount of $100,000, and whereas the town board wishes to use a portion of the grant funds to purchase a Ford Lightning truck, which is electric, for the town recreation department, and whereas in order to pursue purchase of the said vehicle is necessary to procure prices off publicly bid contracts for consideration and approval by the town board. Now therefore be it resolved as that, one, that the town board hereby approves expenditure of a portion of the funds received on the Clean Energy Communities Program grant from NYSERDA upon purchase of a Ford Lightning pickup truck EV for the town's recreation department, and that the town board hereby authorizes the town highway superintendent to obtain proposed quotes and contracts for purchase of said vehicle off publicly bid contracts for the submission to the town board. So Adam is willing to solicit the bids because, you know, we purchase trucks through the highway department normally, so he's going out. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Angel.
Aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you, Martha.
I just got one quick question. Say you need a few $1,000s over 65,000, is that going to prevent us? That's what I'm saying, I'm just for say, if we need it, you know, I don't want to.
I thought you were gonna.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I just don't want to box us into a hole that, you know, we're finding all of a sudden we need a few $1,000s more to prevent us from getting it. That's all I'm like.
First of all, we have extra money in the grant, but on top of that, Climate Smart has extra money that we can put into it if we have.
If necessary.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to sign the lead agency agreement for the County of Putnam regarding the proposed project referred to as Lease Agreement for installation of an emergency wireless communications support structure at 50 Fishkill Road, Village of Nelsonville, New York, consenting to the Putnam County Legislature, serving as lead agency.
Steve, would you like to just?
I gotta tell you, John, this thing's come full circle. The town has agreed to allow the emergency tower to be built on the county property, on its property. The county's building the pole on the town's property. And we went through quite a bit of procedural red tape trying to work out the arrangement with, I think it was OSI.
Yes.
to do it because they held a,
Conservation easement.
on the property. So now we have agreement that OSI and the town have agreed to. We're waiting for the county to agree to it. And apparently, in order to do that, the people who had been, it's just the way it works out sometimes, the people who've been working on it, the county left. So new people are in. Apparently, to go forward with the poll, they've decided that they want to dot all the i's and cross all the t's. And so they're going to complete secret review on the poll. And then after that, they'll approve, I hope there are no more changes, the agreement, and then the emergency poll will finally get built. So all this is doing is saying they're going to be lead agency and secret review of it. Let them, it's their project, that's just fine. And then hopefully they'll wrap it up expeditiously afterwards.
Okay. So this, just to be clear, this poll is strictly for emergency services use. The school will be able to, and the highway department will be able to go on it as well. But Legislator Montgomery, do you have anything? Because the legislature is handling the,
Thought this was a done deal, so I wasn't aware of any of this. I can help expedite it if you let me know. I'd be happy to.
okay, thank you. And the legislature is going to be the lead agency, which I guess is standard for Putnam. Yeah.
It'll be sorted out in the law department. It'll take a while, as I've witnessed things taking a long time now.
Yes. Yeah, it's been probably 4 years since we.
Yeah, it's the last tower in the process too. I mean, the
Right.
rest of them are all,
No, I don't think,
oh, that's what we, okay. All right. So can I get a motion authorizing me to sign the lead agency agreement for Putnam County regarding the proposed communication tower?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution extending the moratorium on oil storage facilities and uses involving oil storage facilities, and this is a roll call vote.
So this, we put a moratorium in. There was a proposed large oil storage facility to be at the intersection of 9 and East Mountain Road North. We identified a flaw in our current zoning, so until we had the opportunity to adjust the zoning, we implemented a moratorium. It is expiring. We do have a committee currently assisting us to rewrite the zoning for that and another item in our current zoning code. But so this is just another 6 month, and this is the last one we can do, I believe.
Well, you have to reenact the law at this point. You can't do any more by resolution.
Okay, so this will buy us another 6 months for the,
Until May. We started with the zoning revision committee, and I think the first meeting went pretty well. The second meeting is scheduled for November 13th. And I would think that well prior to May, I would shoot for like February or March. I think they'll have recommendations as to what local laws should be enacted. And if they just can't pull it together, or if they bring you something and you don't like it, then you would enact the local law again, extending the moratorium. Well, yeah, you have to by local law as opposed to resolution would be the difference. As long as you have the revisions in the works, and you clearly do, you're entitled to extend the moratorium as long as you reasonably need to. So it's not like May's a drop dead date. All it means is you'd have to act by local law to extend it.
okay, thank you. Okay, so can I get a motion to extend the moratorium for another 6 month period?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Angel.
Aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Yeah, aye, sorry.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Next is a resolution authorizing the Highway Department purchase out of the new equipment line of a sander for the new 2024 Ram 5500 for $8,295 from Robert Green Truck Division.
So this was something approved in our 2024 budget. It's a line item to purchase sander for a new vehicle that we had, a Ram 5500, excuse me. Hopefully we won't have to use it. If the weather continues like this, I don't think we'll be getting it. But if we don't buy it, we'll get ice every day, so. Can I get a motion to approve the highway purchase for a new equipment line or sander 2024 Ram 5500 for $8,295?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Thank you.
The weather is.
Next is a resolution reappointing Robert Percacciolo to the Board of Assessment Review.
Did we investigate this guy to make sure?
Guy seems sketchy, a
I
little
think
shady.
I think we should.
He's been
This
doing
is an easy appointment. So, and thank you to Robert he's been on one round or two rounds?
second,
This is
third
this,
time.
well, he replaced someone who removed themselves from the board, so he's done only a piece of a term. This will be his first full, yeah.
And we still have a vacancy.
And we still have an open,
So the
an
Board
opening
of
on the
Assessment
bottom.
Review has a vacancy if anybody's looking for a really interesting role to serve in the town. So, can I get a motion to approve Robert Percacciolo to the Board of Assessment Review?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you, Robert.
Vet him.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to sign the Putnam County Real Property Tax Service Contract for 2025. This is the same contract we do every year for
Right,
Putnam
it's the
County,
same
preparing our
contract, just
tax
that
bills.
they-
And while everybody was silent. so-
Can I get a motion for me to sign the bill for Putnam County Real Property Tax Service for 2025?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Same one.
Next is a discussion of the draft request for proposals for a solar energy system for the Philipstown Highway Department garage roof.
So okay, thank you, that's me. So, I was building off of the RFP that I'm sure, Bob, you probably worked on for the
Rec center.
rec center roof. So pretty easy. So we just are changing it to put out an RFP for a solar energy system to be installed on the highway department garage roof, which looks like which was built for solar, right?
Yep, the roof was especially designed to hold sail panels.
Okay, so it looks like a easy solar installation. I think the only thing that's different is we're requesting proposals for a municipally owned solar system, and we want to learn more about what that would take, how that changes the financial benefits to the town. Martha just brought up before the meeting that as we go through this process, a lot of the municipal ownership is made possible by a change in the federal tax code, the investment tax credit. And there's some question on, that's really what's funding a lot of solar in the U.S. There's some question on if that's going to change under the new administration. So it's just something we should be aware of going forward. But this RFP will just let us get some quotes on that job.
I mean, I think it's wonderful. The building is designed for it. It's working wonderfully at the rec department. We're almost at a zero bill for the rec still, correct?
Right, yeah, definitely. From what I understand, when I got involved with this, the system that we can possibly put on here is gonna exceed what we're gonna be able to use at the town garage,
So
right,
we can
as
put
of right
back
now.
into the grid.
So at that point, you can put it to any other meter you have here, it's called net metering. You can submit it to this meter here, right here, 238 Main Street. Now, you can submit that, but I understand it's a tough thing to do with Central Hudson. But anyway, it's possible, it's doable.
Well, any other discussion, guys?
No, I'm just giving a shout out to Bob for all the work he did on getting the rec center solar put on, which has made a huge difference.
Yeah, you can't even see it, right?
Yeah.
It's completely gone. So I would suggest that we go ahead and finalize this proposal and RFP and get it out for bids, so. Martha, do you have anything to add for it? No, good. All right. We
So
don't,
is this something that,
it needs to be cleaned up a
gonna
little
work?
bit.
It needs to be cleaned up, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
You want it in final before you vote.
Yeah, okay. And you're working on that?
I guess.
Okay.
So do you have any comments on it, or if you
Well,
look
no,
at it,
it
should
looks quite good. There's, just like you and I discussed a minute ago,
Yeah.
there's a couple of spots that need to be filled in.
Okay,
So, I mean,
okay,
you'd like to have that filled in before they vote on it. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
okay.
You have a comment.
Well, now I have a comment.
Okay.
I just want to say, because of the changes that are happening in the government,
Right.
the sooner we act on this, the better.
Okay.
So I don't want us to have to wait till our next board meeting to approve it, so I hope we
We have a
can.
meeting next Wednesday, so.
Oh, okay. All right,
Can
thank
we
you.
get it together by next Wednesday?
Yeah.
No, no,
It's very easy.
no, our next meeting's not till the 20th.
Oh, on the 20th, sorry, next Wednesday.
So it's
The 20th, does that work?
I mean, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's our only option, right? Yeah,
Well,
So this will be able to put the proposal out to bid at that point.
that sounds right. So, and Martha, I guess the only other thing to add is that Martha secured a grant that would pay for a municipally owned system, and it looks like cover the cost of the system outright if the bids come back that way, so.
wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so we'll meet and discuss this, or we'll put it out on the 20th, correct, Tara?
Yeah, that's our next meeting.
Okay, the next item, we got a contact from an individual who provides, it's not an individual, it's a firm that provides workers' comp. There's like 130 towns in New York that have gone over to this program. We have applied, we put an application in to get quotes, so I thought we would have the quotes in front of us tonight, but we don't. So I would like to table that to November 20th also, if that's all right with everybody.
Steve, does someone need to make a motion to table it?
Well, the chairman can withdraw it from the agenda. It wasn't called as an item yet, so you don't need to make a motion to table.
Okay,
If
perfect.
you want to go forward with a motion,
Awesome.
feel free to. You
No,
can-
that's
Really
fine.
a stickler tonight.
I wasn't sure because I didn't call it as an agenda item yet, so I just wanted to make sure before we moved on.
Thank you.
Next is a
Guess who's
discussion.
up next?
Table that.
Discussion with Nat Prentice regarding high priority
Not a
items
chance.
in the comprehensive plan.
Because the last thing I remember was I was gonna be told not to come back till December, so.
I never said that.
Here I am in November. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nat Prentice, and I'm here on behalf of what we're calling the Comprehensive Plan Committee, whose purpose I'll tell you about in just a minute. But will you do me a favor and pass those out? I think there are 7 of them. So we, in the town of Philipstown, do have a comprehensive plan. We've had several of them over the years. The most recent version is dated actually the end of 2021. So they get out of date pretty quickly, these things, and there are 150 action items listed in there. The purpose of the Comprehensive Plan Committee is to keep the document alive, to keep looking at it and bringing to the attention of this group items that might very well be a high priority for the near term. So that's what we're here to discuss, is a priority list of actions that are listed in the comprehensive plan that you could all find on the website. Just says comprehensive plan, and you can click through it. And I'm going to recommend that all of you have another look at it, because to really make this prioritization effort work, we need you all to help us be proactive. You get the chance to be reactive all the time, not as much time to be proactive, so help with this. But what I've just passed out to the group, and I can get you a copy. This was the original list, and it's all marked up and you can't read it, but this was the original list of priorities that we pulled out a couple of years ago, and the purpose of this is to show you that efforts are underway, some of which have in fact been completed, to, you see how many of these are checked off. I'm going to pass this over to you. The purpose for my mentioning that is that this process seems to be working. We are in fact identifying items that are high priorities, and this group is taking it upon themselves to act on them. So I think it's a process that I hope we can continue. But on the list, just to clarify for all of you, some of these things got a check mark, and they're just beginning. Some of these things got a check mark, and they're been done in the history books for a year. For example, I put a check by Fixed Conservation Development Zoning Code, which I believe will be a priority item for the committee that was just formed. There we go.
Yep.
So we've been staring at that one for a year or so, and you all finally figured out how we're going to attack it, so thanks. There are a couple of items that have a line drawn through them, and that's basically, we put them on the list, but the town board felt that those were sort of outside the jurisdiction of the town. I mean, we all have our opinions about schools and how they could come together or work together, but the town board decided that that's a school issue and not a town board issue. So we have a couple of crossouts. Let's call them parked for the time being. So if you look at this list, this is why I'm here, to see if we can get some new items on the list, because most of this list is now crossed out and accomplished, or in the process of being accomplished. For example, we've not got the trolley, the Cold Spring trolley, doing the things that we hope it might do, but Nancy and the county and a number of people from the town are working on improving that service. Nancy's also, she tells me, we've talked about this, also working with the county people to expand public transportation in the county. We don't see very much of it over here, but Nancy's working on that. It gets a check, but there's a long ways to go.
Now, the trolley was rerouted. There was QR codes that's
Yeah, they're-
functioning, so people could sign on and find out where it's going, and hopefully take it to Breakneck, and there is different routes.
Well, I watch it I spend a good portion of my Saturday or Sunday down in the visitors information booth.
Right.
And I watch that trolley come around the corner and head off. There's a lot of improving yet to go,
Oh,
John.
no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's included in my report, but we're talking about the trolley.
Right.
Stay with me.
That's actually a pleasure.
Stay with me. We've just completed almost finished, there are a couple of weeks left in the 2024 trolley season. So now it's time to look at what worked, what didn't work. We're always revising, adding QR codes, credit card payments. It worked. There were great improvements. There's a lot of talk about the routing and wanting to change the routing. So a lot of citizens, business owners, and cultural organizations in town have contacted me, and we put a group together, and we're talking about that. We've met with the Commissioner of Planning, who right now is in charge of the trolley until we get a transportation manager. So we're in the process of doing that now, because now is the time. We need to be ready for 2025. So we're there. We're listening, and we're making changes. People have to understand with the trolley, to make any changes, this is a federal program, and to make changes to the trolley schedule takes an act of God. So, not really, but that's why we're starting now. It is a federal program. We have to go through the federal government with any major changes, so that's why we're ahead of it and starting now.
I apologize. Do you have more to report to give? You're welcome to give.
No, I'll give it after. I'll give it at the end.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to hurry up.
Go ahead.
We can't wait for your report.
Get the last word.
So what I'm hoping is, I'm going to say the only item on this list that's still open or is not really underway is the whole notion of housing and having all types of housing available. And of course, that's a very big subject and one that we'll get to. But I think the first thing we can do, and here's an easily accomplishable action item, we can become, because it's a good club to belong to, we can be part of the New York State Pro-Housing Community Group, because that's just a matter of an application and a letter, and it seems to me the process may have even started here, but I'm here to help that along. Not that that's going to do much for us other than put us in the queue in case there's a project comes up that we like and that we get the chance to maybe apply for a grant, but we can't get any of that grant money if we're not designated as a New York State pro-housing community.
Forgive me, I don't remember where we left off with that. I know we
Steve,
had.
maybe you can help me. There was, I think I didn't force you, but I got you to sign off
You had
on
my arm about
sign off on the idea of I think there's a letter of intent
Right.
that goes first, and then once you get the Office of Community Renewal, or once they sign off on that, then you come back and you apply, and then you have to actually go through a few hoops to tell the state about your current zoning, your current number of housing units.
I remember, we thought we met quite a bit of these with our current zoning.
That part I don't know, because we never got to, I don't think we got to, maybe you took.
You remember?
Yeah, well, what happened was Nat came in and suggested that the board consider becoming a pro-housing community. And in order to become a pro-housing community, you need to either have, I may have the percentage wrong, but I think it's 2% growth in your housing overall annually, or you can adopt a resolution, the pro-housing affirmation, whatever they call it. And if you meet the percentage growth, you don't have to do anything more as far as, your local zoning or anything like that. You just submit your letter of intent. The building department's going to have to provide all sorts of information regarding how many projects have been approved and your population, a lot of which you can get from the local census, some of which they may have already, but they're going to require you to upload a bunch to the building department anyway. And then again, if you meet the percentage, you don't have to do anything else. Hey, presto, you're a pro-housing community. If you don't, then you have to adopt the pro-housing community affirmation resolution. And then you submit that, and once you do, for 1 year at least, you have to do this annually, you will be a pro-housing community. The advantage of being a pro-housing community, there are, I'm going to say 8. I'm not sure the exact number, but if it isn't 8, it's very close to that. Discretionary grants that the state will not award to you if you are not a pro-housing community. New York Forward, I think, is one of them. There's some other ones on those, and they're some are applicable to Philipstown, some are pretty clearly not applicable to Philipstown, but it doesn't commit you to make any changes to your zoning, to adopt any programs. The fact that you adopt the resolution, at least currently, we'll have to see what New York State does in the future, is sufficient to get you eligible for those grants should you wish to apply for them. Now, I remember discussing it. I do not remember preparing a pro-housing resolution for this board to adopt, and I don't think you adopted it. So you talked about it. I think I sent Megan a memo on it or something. She was curious about that.
Sure did.
And but I think that's as far as it went. So that's where you're at. If you want
And
to
the
consider
resolution is
this more.
quite templatable. I mean, it's, in case you need, well, yeah, I mean, this group, the Department of Homes and Community Renewal has one that we could sign off on tomorrow if we wanted to. John, this is for you. I circulated that, and Steve's got that. That's just what you do. Option 2, you take a resolution, right, Steve?
The resolution would be, I'm pretty sure for Philipstown, I don't think you've had enough housing created to qualify otherwise. But yes, the resolution would be the last step you'd have to take in order to get it done. I've done resolutions for the municipalities. You want a change of the language from their template. It's a little over the top as far as its enthusiasm for housing growth.
Defer
But
to you
yes.
for sure.
I would be comfortable with a resolution being prepared. Any comments from the board?
No, I think so. I just want to make sure I understand it. So if someone came here, a developer came in and wanted to develop some homes and say, for example, affordable housing, they wouldn't be allowed for any grants because we don't have, not part of this?
There are certain grants that, yes, developers are tied in with, New York Forward being one of the ones I'm familiar with as far as that goes. And if you are not a pro-housing community, you can apply for the grants. You're not going to get the grants. The governor's made very clear that the preference in these discretionary grants is solely for pro-housing communities.
So I think it's a good thing to do.
It's something to do. You guys are the authority, but it's something to do.
We can check it off the list.
Okay, good. Now, once we get beyond that, then our slate is, I mean, we could propose all kinds of other priorities, but this is a pretty good list that you've already accomplished. But now the question becomes, what else do you want to do? Do you want a tree advisory committee? With the revolution coming up, do you want to revisit an inventory of historical sites and how do we protect them going forward? Do you want to, I mean, there are 150 things we could do.
Well, there's limited amount of
I
time
know.
that this board has, but if you want to put a list together. of
Well, we
potential-
will, but before we do, I just want to make sure there isn't something right on the top. This is a 2-minute proactivity exercise. Is there anything that you all are thinking about look at Jason, he looks so proactive at the moment. But no, I mean, if you, give me a couple ideas if you have them. If you don't,
Considering that-
we'll go find them and serve them up to you.
considering the amount of work that we've done this month, I doubt there's any suggestions for anything additional.
Well,
But
that's
if
fair.
you guys, if the committee would like to put a list together, we could certainly
You
address
got
it.
us by, you jumped us by a month. By December, we will have a list of new things, but congratulations on all the things that you have accomplished. I think the process works, and we'll fill this list out a little bit more. We'll do more than just have housing on the list. We'll have a few more on, and we'll serve them up to you.
Well, thank you, Nat, as always, for keeping us focused on where.
Stay away from the schools, Nat. Stay from the schools.
Thank you
need
so
to be
much.
told once.
And
Thank-
before we move on, are we comfortable with putting a resolution together for December for pro-housing? Yeah. Everybody, good?
I mean, I'm going to be outvoted here if that's what we're trying. I don't have a full understanding of it, so until I do, which I'll talk with
to research
yeah,
it.
so.
I
got it.
Private session with you, I would
You would
welcome.
love that, Nat. I know you would.
Oh, easy, easy.
I would, to help you understand it. Okay. Thank
No,
you,
I
thank you for your
appreciate
attention
it.
and audience.
Steve, if I have any questions, I'll ask
Thank
you
you
about
for
it.
your
Moving
patience.
right
with
along. Thank you, Nat.
So next up is to
Yes.
schedule any workshops or meetings. We have the final budget adoption / workshop, which will be on November 20th. That is at the Rec Center in Garrison.
Right, it's at the
Yes,
rec
at
center.
7:30.
There's court, there's evening court here, so we never can be sure if they're gonna be out
Yeah.
on time, so we're,
Is that the same day as the senior luncheon? Oh, well, they won't be there anyway.
Yeah, our
still
meeting's
there
at
then.
7:30 at night.
Lunch. It's a long lunch.
If they are still there, we have a problem.
quite the lunch.
John, I just want to let you know, I am not available on the 20th, but I do want to, like, the final budget adoption, I agree with that adoption. We've been through it
Thank you.
for many weeks. I just want to put that out there, that since I'm not going to be there the 20th, I do want to just let everyone know that I agree with the budget, so.
Thank you.
Then we have the regular meeting, which is scheduled for December 5th. And then I know I put the year-end meeting for December 11th or 18th. I would urge you to choose the 11th because, again, there's court on the 18th at 4 o'clock, and we don't know if they'll be done.
I'm out of town on the 18th, so I can't make the
So you'd prefer the 11th?
11th's preferable.
Does the 11th work for everybody?
Yep.
Okay, so I guess it's the 11th. You good?
Yeah.
And that will be here, you said, or?
That one will be here, yes. December 11th, that'll be 7:30. That's the year-end.
I would like to discuss with the court about moving their evening court
See
off
if
of
they-
Wednesdays. It's the one night that we do use the building, and
Yeah.
maybe we can get them to move. I know they predate a lot of court cases, so it would take some time to evolve, but I'd like to work with them and try to get the courtroom back, so.
Is that at 7, Tara?
7:30.
7:30.
For the 11th, all right? Great.
Next up is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report, and this is for October. Total fees collected was $26,747.91. There were 32 total permits issued, 5 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings. There were 27 all other permits. 37 certificates of occupancy were issued. There was 1 stop work order issued. There were 5 inspections of public assembly, and there were 2 inspections of commercial occupancies. And the code enforcement officer would just like to remind everyone to have your chimneys cleaned before heating season.
Yes, thank you to Greg Warner, and please clean your chimneys.
Next up is any other business that may come before the board.
As Judy reported earlier in the meeting, we did meet with Red Cross. In 2016, we had an agreement with them. They put 2 disaster trailers at the rec center. So the rec center is prepared and can operate as a shelter. We call it a warming center because we are not qualified to run a shelter. However, if Red Cross is associated, then it becomes an official shelter. There's MREs in the trailers, there's beds, there's cots, there's blankets. They will staff it as well. The other benefit of our center is it's pet friendly. So we needed to have a second entrance and exit, which we can use the side door. The dogs would go in, or cats, and go down, or whatever animals, and down into the basement. So it's an ideal center for the Red Cross. For whatever reason, I don't even remember why, they just took the trailers out of there.
Well, trailers are very hard to maintain. You have to, that mice get into those trailers and the stuff doesn't stay.
So we met, they reached out to me and we met on Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't remember what day it was, but They're bringing them back. Yeah, we were, but all of a sudden the trailers disappeared one day with no explanation. So I look forward to having, hopefully we never have to use it, but we are going to be prepared to shelter if need be. But again, hopefully we'll never have to use it and the stuff will go to waste, but over the next 20 years. The other thing I wanted to comment about, and I've been beating this to death, is the Kent Volunteer Fire Department ambulance service that has been removed. They went out of service on October 1. On October 2, I started emailing and calling the town of Kent, the surrounding communities. Philipstown Ambulance, Garrison Ambulance, Putnam Valley Ambulance, and Carmel Ambulance are all basically covering the town of Kent mutual aid. So, which mutual aid is just that, mutual. It's supposed to be reciprocal. They are not, they are out of the EMS business. Emails, chains, you guys have all been on most of them. I did have a conversation today with the county executive about it because it seems to be less than an urgent item for the town of Kent to provide ambulance service to their town. The problem I have, we pay for our 2 ambulances. We proudly staff 2 ambulances for the town of Philipstown, 1 at Garrison, 1 at Philipstown, fully paid 2 crews. Plus, we have volunteers that also assist with that. But I don't think we should be providing EMS service for another community. When they're overwhelmed, as I've said before, when they're overwhelmed or when we're overwhelmed, that's when the mutual aid plan should come in. But it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be the first line service. There's been a number of proposals put to the town of Kent. It doesn't seem that they're overly anxious to provide anything. I was told today, off the record, through the emergency services, that they have currently 1 employee. On November 12th, they're going to hire, I believe, 4 more, and then in early December, they're hiring 8 more, which still is not enough to staff 1 ambulance 24/7, 365, because you need 2 people on the crew to fully operate it. So they are in the process of forming what's going to be called the Town of Kent Emergency Medical Service, or Town of Kent Ambulance. But in the meantime, they made no preparation to cover their community with ambulance service. It went out of service on October 1, and no protocols from New York State were followed. I contacted the bureau chief from the New York State Department of Health. He did go to Kent, inspected the ambulances that they will be operating. They did meet inspection, but unfortunately, they don't have staff currently to cover them. So we continue. We've, as of, was it Friday? We had done 10 calls in the town of Kent, which is 10 too many as far as I'm concerned, unless they're providing their own and they're overwhelmed, which we all rely on that. But so if you think about the time, I listened to our ambulance go to a call, and I Googled the address, and it was a 31-minute ride from Cedar Street to where this call was. So it's 31 minutes that person was waiting for an ambulance. I mean, the ALS service was there, so it was a 31-minute response. Then our ambulance, I don't know where they took the patient, but I'm sure it would either be Putnam Hospital or Danbury. So that meant that our ambulance was out of our community for an extended period of time, which doesn't sit well with me. We are fortunate enough to have another unit at Garrison, but we have our own calls that we should be covering here. So I will continue. We're in, and again, it's not about the money. I'm more concerned about the liability that this is placing the Kent residents and the residents of the town of Philipstown. And I've been very clear with my email chain that I'm not going to be, it's not on me or on us if it's not, if there is a tragedy, and it's only a matter of time before there will be one. So I've been pressing the supervisor, I've been pressuring the Bureau of Emergency Services. I had a long conversation with the county executive today. He's been working to attempt to get this remedied as well. There's been some, different offers. The county has there's 1 BLS unit for the entire Putnam County that is there to subsidize when there's a loss. They have stationed that in the town of Kent, but it's a 12-hour unit, so 7A to 7P, it's there. After that, it's they're relying on their neighbors, so. There's been all kinds of suggestions. What they're falling, they seem to be falling on deaf ears. Right. My next plan, if I've been emailing, I have had a few conversations with the supervisor of the town of Kent. My next move is going to be attending a town of Kent meeting. Well, it may come to that, and I think it's not fair. Frankly, it's just not fair. So, we've all had issues with providing volunteers. It's a nationwide issue, and now there's so many agencies in Putnam in this area that are hiring EMTs that the pool isn't big enough to staff these people. So you'll see in our budget, we had an increase again to be able to encourage these limited pool of EMTs to work for Philipstown and Garrison. I can't thank the management of both Philipstown and Garrison for being able to staff. We basically have a paid agency with volunteer administration, so we are saving money there. But it costs a lot of money. If you take the hourly rate times 2 employees times 365, it's almost $400,000 a year for each crew to be on the road, which is money well spent in my eyes to make sure you're going to get an ambulance. But it's money we're spending, and it should be staying in this community. So I will continue to hound them, and it's not just me. There's pressure from the other towns. There's pressure from the Bureau of Emergency Services, and even New York State Department of Health is pressuring them to. The crazy thing is that, it's not crazy, but it's ironic that the fire service is mandated by New York State. You have to provide fire service, but you don't have to provide EMS service. And I'm sure that's based on, homeowners insurance, which they're going to mandate that. But you would think health insurance would want you to have an ambulance ready. So it's kind of hard to believe that there's no sense of urgency other than from the surrounding communities. But I'll keep you all updated as to where that's going. But it's been an endless amount of phone calls and emails. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing else.
I just want to mention that we're in the process, next week, we should start the boring on the Route 9D for the water treatment plant that we've been working on for the last 2 years or so. Anyway, we hired somebody, the bids went out, we got the person, they're going to supposedly be starting next week to bore on the 9D. We already started the electrical work down there as well, and then we're going to be trenching from the 9D well to our water treatment plant there right behind the golf course there. So that's in process. So I would say in hopefully another 2 months or so, we should have the water running between the two, and that'll be very helpful for everybody involved with the Garrison Water District.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
I know Supervisor Van Tassel, you don't want to discuss the Hudson Highland Fjord Trail tonight. I mean, there's been a lot on the agenda tonight, but I do want to suggest that the letter that was sent to the town board on October 10th by the Hudson Highland Fjord Trail go into the minutes for tonight's meeting if we're not going to read it.
Tara, you were copied on the October 10th, and I know it went to the board. Everybody on the board got it. I can get you, I'm happy to allow that to go into the record. I have no problem with that.
And I also had some comments at a meeting I attended
Right,
October 29th that I can give to Tara if she could put them in the
And
minutes.
I just thought in light of the events of this week, we could take a break and we can discuss it in December. I'd love to update on it. There's a few things I'd like to update on it. I just want to give everybody a little hiatus from the Fjord Trail discussion, so thank you. But yes, I'm happy to allow it to go into the record. Thank you. Anything else? Good? Steve? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You are our other business. Get your business out.
Nancy Montgomery, your Putnam County Legislator. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I just wanted to give you an update on the county budget. The legislature approved the 2025 budget. The county executive has until tomorrow to veto any changes we made to it. The county's portion of your average homeowner's bill is about 9%. Spending will rise about 10 million over 2024's spending. Revenues include 79 million in sales tax revenue, 14 million in reserve funds, and 46.2 million from property taxes. This is the same as last year's budget, the 46.2 million. Properties will be taxed $2.70 per $1,000 of assessed value, or 15 cents lower than last year. Good news. So basically, the tax rate went down in simple terms. The highlights were, as you know, you're going through it now or you're finished with your budget process. It's always difficult. This year was exceptionally difficult at the county level. I personally appreciated the new way of doing it. I thought it was more transparent. I actually got more information out of the county executive and department heads this year than ever. The highlights were we did hire, we added some new positions. One is, you'll like this, Deputy Commissioner of Planning and Development and Public Transportation. So instead of a transportation manager, we will have a Deputy Commissioner of Planning and Development and Public Transportation. With grant funding, you'll like this, we are adding a soil and solid waste manager, which is great news for, climate smart initiatives and everything. And we will be hiring a new deputy sheriff criminal investigator, and also a project manager for the Department of Public Works, which is great for us. I think you've seen this year, over the past 2 years actually, more communication with the county, more resources that they're bringing here to support us in our projects. So it's great news. It's this budget process, I actually got some things for our town. I actually had seconds on my motions. They didn't fund the libraries completely with what was requested, but I was able to restore that funding to the libraries. We did get some funding for the hub, which is 6 years in the making, that I've been trying to get some funding for the Philipstown Behavioral Health Hub. So that was good news in the budget. And you can always give me a call if you have any questions about the county budget. And that was over, and we went right to work last night. And one of the things we did last night, you'll appreciate this, the semi-annual mortgage tax report came out. So you'll be getting a check for the Village of Cold Spring will get $12,877, Nelsonville $3,640, and the town $153,421. So that comes every 6 months, mortgage tax. And
It's always a gamble for us to
Yeah.
project what we're going to get. I'd have to look and see what we are. But last year with our budget realignment, we brought those down because it's interesting. A lot of homes are being purchased cash, so there is no mortgage.
I know, especially in my neighborhood. It's crazy. But that's just one of the services that the county does for the towns, is they manage all that mortgage tax and send it back and keep track of it. So,
What was that, 153,450, is that what you said?
town outside of the village is $153,421.97.
That's for the whole year. And we'll get half of it in 6 months, you said?
No, that's the 6 month.
One
That is
6
6 months.
Yeah.
Oh, so we
Yeah,
possibly could double that.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Thank you, Nancy, and
Thank you.
thank you for all the work that
Thank
you
you, other business.
Thank you, other business.
I'm happy you're getting a second on your motions. But, please, thank you.
I saw that in the paper.
Any other business before the town board? Yes, come on.
Patiently.
Audience.
Be sure to be in the mic.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll get started.
How are you? If you
All
could
right.
speak up, please.
I'll do my best.
There
okay.
you go. Perfect.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Sexton, and I'm a resident of Horton Road in Philipstown. My family and I have grown quite concerned over the operations of Expressway Recycling located on 3455 US 9, especially over the past year. When we first moved to Horton Road in 2014, Expressway Recycling was little more than a junkyard that accepted scrap metal, but otherwise had little impact on our lives, aside from being messy at times and being somewhat of an eyesore. Over the past year and a half, unfortunately, things have changed dramatically. Expressway Recycling has implemented the use of an excavator, metal grinder, and has exponentially increased its business. Rather than a few random pickup trucks and vans dropping off their scrap metal from a day's construction, there are now large commercial trucks backing into Expressway's driveway and bringing truckloads of metal with them. Beginning sometimes as early as 6:30 a.m. and ceasing only when the setting sun forces its halt, my family and neighbors are subjected to the endless sounds of grinding metal, cars and trucks literally being dropped from one pile of metal to the next, and the pounding from the claw of an excavator as it literally smashes any metal object you can imagine to shreds. Our peace has been obliterated, and we cannot enjoy our yards or open our windows, as it only further subjects us to ceaseless pounding and screeching. Repeatedly throughout the day, surrounding neighborhoods are subjected to hearing the metallic noise of a claw of an excavator as it lifts what could be a van, a car, or any large piece of metal you can think of high into the sky, followed by a loud crash as it drops into a ground or heap of metal 20 feet below. The walls of our houses shake and our windows rattle as though there is an earthquake. That sound is alternated with the claw pounding like a hammer. Aside from the noise, we have also become concerned over what heavy and toxic metals are being released into the air we breathe and our water every day, all day long. On its website, Expressway Recycling advertises its acceptance of toxic waste, including batteries and lead. The metal in the cars and appliances they accept are known to contain cadmium, nickel, mercury, and lead. Neighborhoods surrounding metal recycling plants are known to run the risk of exposure to these heavy metals, as they can be transmitted for miles, especially in windy conditions. My husband Keith has brought our concerns to our town code enforcer, Greg Wunner. He has made light of our concerns, stating that the address of Expressway is zoned commercially and there is, quote, nothing we can do. We have brought to his attention that the smashing has reached decibels that exceed the levels deemed appropriate by our local laws, and he has stated in return that he has no way to prove that, and we would have to privately pay to have the noise and pollution levels tested. Time and time again, he discounts our concerns and refuses to acknowledge the changes that have taken place at Expressway. He's dismissed our concerns, stating, well, Route 9 is noisy anyway, you brought property in close proximity to a commercial zone, and finally, you're the only residents that have brought this to my attention. Why should we use the traffic noise on Route 9 to justify a completely different and far more intrusive nuisance? Incessant pounding of metal for 8 to 12 hours a day cannot be compared to Route 9 traffic. Even if we were the only complainers, as he referred to us, would that be the reason to discount our complaint? As I began to speak to my neighbors and formulate our petition, I found that we were, in fact, not isolated in our concerns. Why would he lie and tell us that we were the only citizens to reach out, when in fact, other neighbors had done so as well? My neighbors and I would like to present this petition to the Philipstown Town Board that shows how many of us have been affected by this recent growth and daily operations of this plant. We stretch from Eustis Road, the Glassberry development, Knollwood, through Horton Road, Horton Court. We are certain that there are many more families and individuals affected who may not know of this petition, yet still have the same frustrations and desire for change. This plan has detracted from our quality of life and our ability to enjoy our homes. We may be exposed to toxic heavy metals in our air and drinking water every day as a result of the new operations that Expressway Recycling has commenced over the past 2 years. Our property values have certainly decreased, as any prospective buyer who visits would be met with the sounds of screeching machinery and smashing metal as soon as they step out of their cars. We implore you to acknowledge that the circumstances of the operations of this business are very different now than they were a year and a half ago, let alone when their license to operate was first issued. In Chapter 107 of the Town of Philipstown Part 2 General Legislation, the board has set limits for how junkyards are to be expected to operate. You, the town board, through your legislation and in its own words, have declared your intent to, quote, regulate, control, and license the activities or businesses known as auto graveyards, junkyards, and secondhand parts collection areas, and the processing of used metals for resale and the dumping, storage, and disposal of waste, secondhand or used materials of whatever composition. This is the precise nature of expressway recycling. In Chapter 107, they acknowledge that all of the potential for hazards that expressway recycling poses to my neighbors and I, as outlined in our petition. In your legislation, you acknowledge, quote, the presence of such junkyards, even in areas zoned for business or industry, is unsightly and tends to detract from the value of surrounding land and property unless such areas are properly maintained and operated. What constitutes properly maintained and operated? Finally, in Chapter 107, the Philipstown Town Board has promised in their very own words through their legislation to, quote, protect the inhabitants of the town of Philipstown and the environment in which they live. Has the Town Board and Planning Board of Philipstown actually granted a license for such a business that seems to be going against the legislation that you have created to protect us? Or is it that expressway recycling is operating under a license granted for a business that once met this criteria, but certainly no longer does? If expressway has been allowed to operate and expand unchecked, even though our legislation provides the exact words meant to protect us, what does the future hold for this business? Can they just continue to expand and bring even more noise and environmental pollution to what was once our quiet neighborhoods? Is there a way to restore the peace and quiet that we all once enjoyed? We respectfully present this petition to ask you for help. First, can we be certain that expressway recycling is actually operating under the conditions described in the license they applied for? Additionally, we have stated several concerns in our petition, including noise pollution, air pollution, traffic concerns, safety concerns, and aesthetics. Can the town board please help us address these concerns and help us keep our neighborhood safe, clean, and peaceful as it should be? Thank you.
Thank you, that was a lot. Hold on one second, it's my turn. So, we're not gonna accuse Greg Warner of lying, okay, that's not happening, because Greg Warner is not lying, okay? He has responded every time that there has been a complaint. He's only had a complaint from your family, hold on. There has been no other complaints that he's aware of to his office in any official capacity. He did write to me today that on numerous unannounced visits, he did check for noise levels. And again, we are not official at calculating noise. We are not scientists, but he went out and did a test. And the noise levels were always beneath what the code permits. The operation of that plant is already under the regulation of the DEC and the EPA and state labor laws, which he ensured has taken place. I'm not going to defend them, and I'm not going to discredit your quality of life. I understand it's noisy. It is a commercial spot. It's been a junkyard. I mean, I've lived here my entire life. It's been a junkyard. And I will say it looks better now than it did when we were younger, without a doubt. It has not expanded. Some of the services that have gone on inside may be different, but I believe, and according to our code enforcement agent, they are operating within the permits that they have. So there's been no expansion of, it's fenced. They have done improvements to the fencing recently. They put a gate in. Greg has not discredited any complaints from the community. So what I would suggest we do is give the board an opportunity to digest. There's a lot. You just gave us a lot of information. I appreciate it. And it's not easy to get up and make a presentation and read off all that. And I appreciate the neighbors coming out as well. What I would suggest is give us an opportunity to go through this. We can have the town attorney review their operating license and come back with an opinion as to the operation. If there is a noise complaint, if there's noise there that exceeds the noise that's, currently happening at Route 9 or, in a commercial zone like that, it can be addressed, there's no doubt about it. What I would suggest is we do is have a workshop either in December or January with Greg when we have some more facts and go through this whole process. So is the board comfortable with the
I
work?
am. I'd also like to ask if the group of petitioners has contacted the DEC or... No? Okay.
I'm sorry? Right, and we've, and I've done a little investigating myself. I speak to some of the other neighbors that are in close proximity. They haven't had that noise out of that place at 5 a.m. And I'm talking about hold on one sec. I'm talking about people that are really close to that location. They're not operating that we've seen, and we've done drive-bys to see if they're operating before they're supposed to be in the morning. I believe it's 7:30 they're allowed to start operating. Right. Well, if that's the case, it'll be stopped, guaranteed, because we will enforce the code. We will enforce the code to the limit that we can. If it's going on before hours, it will be stopped. But we got to make sure that that's where the noise is coming from. That's the thing. So why don't we schedule to meet in December? If you have more information, if anybody else would like to submit a comment to the town board, we will, what are you looking at me like?
December is just highly unlikely. We don't have any available meeting space.
So then we'll do
because
it in
of-
January.
Yeah, that's the
We'll
only
do
thing
it
I
in
was gonna,
January.
yeah.
So you're saying that there'll be a workshop just devoted to this
Yeah,
topic?
I mean, I don't have the ability to, respond to this right now, and I don't think it'd be fair for us to respond. So we will review the information you have. If you have additional information, if anybody has additional comments, you can submit it to the town clerk via email or the supervisor@philipstown.com, and we could, review the rest of it. So I would suggest we meet in January and discuss it. Work?
Yes.
Is that all right with you guys? Why don't you submit that to us?
No, she did.
I haven't seen it.
I saw it. I looked at it the other day.
And Jenny, what time do you have? It says on there it's a 6:15 start. That,
Start sometimes about between 6:45, 6:50 a.m.
okay?
And it will go well. I'll be cooking dinner at 6:30 to 7 p.m.
Well, I will make sure that the code enforcement agent goes there tomorrow and lets them know whatever they're legally allowed to start is when they will start. And when they're supposed to stop, they will stop. That I can guarantee you will happen tomorrow. So, and if it's outside, contact us and we can do it. Yeah. Sure.
The mic, you need the mic. Or C's gonna tell you.
I live on Horton Court, and I'm kind of directly across the street and slightly diagonal, so I can, have a direct view of the junkyard. I mean, and Jenny said everything I was going to say. The only thing that I had found is, there is a whole thing in the Philipstown supplemental regulations in Article 7 about the decibels, and I'm not going to read it all to you. It's 50 decibels more, for daytime, 4 decibels for nighttime. But then it also says underneath that sounds emitted at levels lower than those prohibited by that section that describes the decibels shall not be permitted if, because of the type or frequency of the noise emitted, such sounds are offensive, disruptive, or in continual disharmony with the character of an adjoining or nearby residential neighborhood. And that's us. So, and I do hear it between 6:30 and 7, Monday through Saturday. So, in the least, it would be nice to have it during like business hours, Monday, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and not on weekends and holidays and you know, waking me up in a startled boom at 6:30 on a Saturday morning.
I agree with you 100%. That's not acceptable.
And I mean, and that level of sound isn't consistent, but it's, you know, sometimes it's just scraping and cracking and grinding and screeching and beeping of machinery and stuff, but, you know, they drop these large pieces of metal into
That
these
shouldn't
metal
be
bins.
going on
and
before hours, that's for sure.
It's loud,
That's something we can certainly enforce, without a doubt, so.
I think the environmental aspect is something that we really need to
Well,
look at.
they are inspected by DEC, as Greg.
Guidelines
so-
of DEC.
Yeah, so there
I
is.
mean, just like just like us, we
Yeah.
remove our refrigerants from everyone that recycles our refrigerator. We take that out of it. We didn't have to do that, but we did it as a right thing to do as a community. You know, so they have to do the same thing.
Let's all digest the presentation, and we'll review with the town attorney as well as the code enforcement officer and find out exactly if they are operating within their guidelines. And if not, they will be brought into guidelines. So we'll move on to that in January. We'll be in touch. Will you be our contact? Okay. So
Are you the one who emailed me? I am. Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it.
Face the name.
So right now, vacancies, we have one on the Board of Assessment Review, one on the Conservation Board, though we did just get
Yeah,
a
we did get
resume
a
today.
resume, yeah.
And then there are 2 vacancies on the Rec Commission now, so I will advertise for all of those.
We usually have no problem filling these volunteer spots, so we've had openings on the planning board, we get 9 applicants, 6 attorneys, it's amazing what comes out, but it's interesting, so please volunteer, contact Tara if you're interested. Approval of vouchers. General,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor? And I vote aye. Highway,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor? And I vote aye. Continental Village Park District,
So moved.
second, all in favor? And I vote aye. Continental Village Water District,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor? Motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, come on up. Step. We were right there. We were right there.
Audience.
I think this relates to Nat's priorities. Good. That I wanted to bring up, because I think this is important.
Can you use the mic, please?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We know there's an issue and perception of increased tourism, and that's a really big issue in the township and the village of Cold Spring. And there's a perception that I've polled a lot of people that there's not a clear plan with the village and the township. And I would like to propose that this become an initiative that we look at to get on the agenda for 2025, communicate with the community. I think it would reduce a lot of disharmony and discord, chitter chatter, pointing fingers about problems between, what's going on. But I think we need to just have a great communication about this with the community. And I'd like to offer my services to help get a group together, work with anyone here, Nat, whoever, just because I think it's really an important topic that we talk about, but it's more responding to the what that we're not going to talk about tonight, okay? But I think it's,
Well, it's more than just that, obviously. It's
Yeah,
more than
but
just
I
that.
think
But I
it's-
understand your point.
let's bring some harmony back, especially with this week. Bring some harmony back to our community with a group that collaborates together, communicates in an objective way with all of the group. But I just wanted to offer that I'm happy to work with the group. Nat, if that's you.
The comprehensive plan has a lot of management,
Right.
has a lot of language about getting the tourist.
I'll
management
get you my contact information, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Nat, sign them up.
Because I wanted to get that on record. I
So,
think
honestly,
it's really
that
important.
would be a good task for the Comprehensive Plan Committee. We can certainly address it through them. So
Right.
I would suggest that you have Nat's contact, and we could organize that, and we
That'd
can
be
make it
great.
work. Sounds
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you.
That was it.
Thank you. That was quick and easy. Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Thank you.